Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Geek podcast, where we celebrate geek, nerd, and pop culture. Each week, we deliver the best analysis for fans, by fans, on anything related to movies, TV, video games, comics, anime, and manga. We talk geek. And now, here's the Get Geek podcast.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Get Geek podcast. My name is Gabe, and I am joined by my two other co-hosts right now, Jose and AJ. Say what's up.
What's
Goodbye.
up?
Now, before we continue, you guys already know if there's any kind of sound artifacts like hosts wearing masks that might sound muffled, it's because we're being super safe and protecting ourselves against COVID and all that stuff, because we are still obviously in a pandemic, which still kind of sucks, but we're going to bring this cool and awesome episode to you guys today anyway, because we love doing what we do.
Yeah. In case y'all forgot there was a pandemic going on. We're just reminding you again.
So today we're going to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And it might be a little bit of a mad episode, considering that we are just sort of winging it.
We're gonna do some theories.
We're gonna talk about some theories. You're gonna hear some rants. You're going to maybe agree with some stuff or not agree with some stuff. Let us know in the comments. But before we begin, obviously, like, rate, share, and subscribe. It's the best way to support your local neighborhood friendly podcasters. Guys,
Friendly neighborhood podcast man or woman or person.
Guys, how have you guys been? It's been, I don't think we've ever done an episode with the three of us, just the three of us.
I don't think so. I think it's been you, me, and Eli once.
I don't think it's either been you and I. Sorry, that's my alarm clock.
He's got a big day ahead of him.
Mandalorian, not the Book of Boba Fett theme. Huh?
Shut it.
Yeah, we can't talk about that yet. We'll wait until the end of the season to hurt feelings. We'll wait until later for that. Hey, my feelings might get hurt too, but we're not.
I've been wanting to change that, especially after the last episode. I've been wanting to change that damn ringtone because I'm not on the Mandalorian side anymore.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's
punching the air right now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
punching air right now. We're pretty good. I'm pretty good. It's pretty snowy out here today and freaking freezing, but that's pretty nice. I'm gonna go out and enjoy some of this NFL football later. Yes, sir.
Perfect
indeed.
day to podcast.
Yeah, perfect day to be indoors.
So we're gonna talk about Doctor Strange. Before we do, actually, I kind of want to get your thoughts on the first film. I haven't seen it in a long time at this point. I can't say that I remember it super well. I remember the gist of it. I remember enjoying it, even though not everyone, super enjoyed it. I think because of the comparisons, it's like already late in the phase 3, and we already maybe have a little bit of Marvel fatigue at that time, and a lot of people were just kind of meh when it came to Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, and some of those films towards the end of the timeline. During phase 3. But what were your thoughts on Doctor Strange?
So I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I probably feel a little bit similar in the way that you do, because not only was that a period of like Marvel fatigue getting more and more intense, right? That was like before all of the bigger Avenger films started to come out in the next couple of years and kind of rebuild that excitement, and then Marvel kind of wound down a little bit, gave us some time, and then started releasing a ton of shows to like kind of mitigate that fatigue. But the other thing about it was it was a good movie, but like it was also at the time, like it took time. Let me put it this way. It took time for Doctor Strange to establish himself as something other than like the other brilliant jerk in the MCU, a la Iron Man. I think that the first film didn't do quite enough to distinguish that. And then over time, with other appearances and interactions with Tony Stark, he started to establish himself as a better and different character. But I thought that
that's interesting.
I think the thing about the movie that was great, though, is that I think it actually has one of the best supporting casts of all of the movies in the MCU, because you talk about Tilda Swinton, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Mads Mikkelsen, like and they all played pretty vital roles in the film, right? So like that was something. Rachel McAdams, also a fantastic actor. So many great actors in this film. And the story was a pretty solid like entry into magic and like all of that zaniness and introducing more aspects of the Infinity Stones and the Time Stone. So at the time, yeah, it was a little bit of a fatigue thing. It was a little bit of a, we've seen this in Tony Stark before, but it was still a good movie, a great supporting cast. And as I've seen it over and over again and seen how Doctor Strange has been fleshed out and what his role is, I appreciate it a little bit more, especially after you watch things like that What If episode where it took some of the elements of the movie and remixed them. But yeah, like at the time, again, in a nutshell, a little bit of Marvel fatigue. Over time, I've learned to appreciate it more, and it's definitely one of the better movies. It's not like an average movie in the MCU. It's one of the better ones. What about you, AJ? What were your initial thoughts about it, like when you saw it and maybe now in comparison?
Yeah, so I'm going to completely disagree. I only started feeling the Marvel fatigue after Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah?
I was
Okay.
totally gung-ho for Doctor Strange.
Okay.
And I have to agree with a lot of what Jose said. I mean, the cast was pretty great. I guess the story, all right, maybe it wasn't like the super greatest of all time, like Spider-Man or one of these other movies, but like it was good for what it was, and it was a great introduction to Doctor Strange. I mean, that's all I really have to say about it, other than magic was finally here. Yay! I could finally not have to. It's not all about technology and all that stuff.
What are you talking about? Of course it is. Magic is just a technology of space.
Well, what did Thor say? Right, he said
No.
that their technology is indistinguishable from magic, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
That was when they
kinda say that,
tried
right?
doing magic as not being magic. I
Yeah.
hated that.
Oh, right.
They were kind of explaining as like what their scientific laws are to them is magic to us humans because we don't understand how science works there, which kind of makes sense, right?
That's what they were saying.
No.
Because if you think about it, in our just a little bit of a rant, but if you think about our own human history, the things that made people believe in witchcraft and magic hundreds and thousands of years ago really was just science that was misunderstood. Like the eclipse, oh, it's magic, it's witchcraft. I'm blocking the sun out. It's really just science.
I mean, there's a famous
science.
quote. I had to go online and like look this up, but I kind of remembered the paraphrase of this. But there's a famous quote by Arthur C. Clarke where he says, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." And I think that's kind of what like we were going for, or that what they were going for when they were talking about Thor and Asgard and all of the technology that they have there.
We are destroying AJ's
Remember, you still have Scarlet Witch and her hex magic. There's still magic.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and talk
Yeah.
about the new film because it features Scarlet Witch, and I think that's the biggest tell for everything that I think is going to be in the film, and that's what we're going to discuss as theories and stuff like that. So I want to go first theory. Okay, first theory is
everything.
I don't want to go all the way into like what we think every single nook and cranny of the film will be, because if that's the case with the multiverse, with everything that happened in WandaVision, in Loki, and all that stuff, we'll be here for hours. But I do want to know what's the one major thing that this movie is going to introduce for you.
One major thing.
AJ, do you have an idea?
Yeah, I go ahead, AJ.
How about
I have,
definitely not Mephisto?
Oh, come on.
Not Mephisto.
You really don't think Mephisto?
I don't think he's going to be in this one. Not yet.
This is overplayed by now. No.
Okay, but I asked what you think will be introduced, not what we won't see. That was supposed to be that was going to be my next question.
Not what you don't think.
Later on. You just
What I think will be introduced is kind of, well, no, I'm still going to stand by it. I'm still banking on the fact that we're going to get a lot of the what happened with What If in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And because and we're going to see that in the form of Strange Supreme.
Okay.
Aside from that, I have a very good feeling we might, just might. It's not like a huge 100% thing. Just might get Dormammu back with us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The reason why I think that is because I was watching a YouTube video earlier. It was something the guy, this YouTuber is Geek Culture, something like that.
Oh
I'm
yeah, Geek
sorry if I
Culture
don't know.
Explained.
Yes,
That,
there you
that dude
go.
is awesome. Rob. Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the watch that you see in the trailer, which is Doctor Strange's watch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
he
yes.
said after close examination that the cracks on the watch almost identically line up with the Dormammu symbol.
Interesting. Wait,
You
is
know,
this
I thought I recognized. I thought that there was something more to the cracks. When I saw the cracks, I was like, is that a symbol that I recognize?
which was that
Interesting.
the? I can't recall that in the trailer. Was that
It's the
our
watch
Doctor
was just
Strange or the
it,
evil
it,
Doctor
it was
Strange?
just no,
No, no,
the
no.
watch was
It
just
was
resting like on
okay.
a table or something like that.
It
And
was
they
in the
and
very
that's
beginning of
the
the
other thing
trailer.
too, that they spent a you know, a couple seconds in the trailer. Is they're there for a reason, and the fact that they're zooming in and focusing so much on the watch, on the cracks of the watch, it made me really, like, the second time around, think about like those cracks and cracks and the way that it lined up. I felt like those weren't just normal cracks.
Why would
Interesting
they
that you mentioned
focus
that.
on it? Right? Yeah, they wouldn't focus on it for that long
You
if it
can focus
wasn't
on a
something.
broken watch, uh, but it was something about the way that like the way that I looked at it was, that is not how glass cracks.
I mean,
Yeah.
especially when you consider that time is so integral to Doctor
Yeah,
Strange's character,
yeah,
right?
yeah. There's that too. There's that
Oh
too.
yeah. That's like the beginning. That's like him looking at the watch. I'm just
Yeah.
like kind of
Yeah.
replaying the trailer so I can get caught up with you. I think I think that's part of the theory because I think that a lot of villains are actually going to end up being in this movie.
You think that they're gonna basically like pull the same, like an extension of No Way Home, where
Oh
Not
it's
yeah.
just gonna
exactly.
be like all these villains are gonna be now in our universe?
So I think I should save a little bit of this for later in the conversation, but I think this is going to end up a little bit like Infinity War. I'll leave it at that, and
Well,
then
you
I can
can't
flesh
leave
it
it
out.
at that.
Well, I mean, it's going to be kind of a big. I know we're trying to keep this part a little
Yeah,
short,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I think I should save that. If anything, I'll say like what I think is going to show up in this film. This is a little broader than one character, but this is my main theory. I think we're going to see the Illuminati in this film, the Marvel Comics Illuminati, and I can definitely be more specific about who is going to be in the Illuminati. But again, like I wonder what you think is going to happen, Wolfie. Like when it comes to
Well,
who's going to
I
appear
think
in this.
my biggest thing, if there's one thing that I want to say that it'll introduce, I think that Multiverse of Madness is going to officially introduce mutants. I think the X-Men
Mhm.
are going to make an appearance in this film, or at least one X-Man.
Yeah, I
Like,
think at least one.
I know
Yeah.
what you're getting at.
I really think so. I mean, with the whole WandaVision thing, and the multiverse is the easiest way to explain, I guess, in the MCU, the fusion of the mutants into the cinematic universe without having to like retell a whole bunch of origins. I think that this is probably the best way to bring mutants in. And if it's not done now, I don't know how you do it in the future that's cohesive and seamlessly into the new phases. Because if you think about it, if you don't introduce it with the whole multiverse angle,
Mhm.
then any other future movies, let's say the next Captain America or Iron Man, all of a sudden there's mutants in there. You're going to tell me that in all the other Captain Americas and Iron Mans that mutants weren't even a topic of discussion, weren't even
Yeah,
mentioned? It wouldn't make sense.
I
It can
mean,
only really make sense if you do it in through the multiverse angle.
yeah, I don't like the theory that has gone out there where people think that like, oh, maybe the energy from the snap is what caused mutants to be revealed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Although that has some precedent with like the Terrigen Mist, right, in the comics. it's still not exactly the same, and I don't really like that.
But the reason that doesn't work is because then it makes all the previous mutant films under Fox non-canon,
which I don't think they're going to do.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. You know, they're not going to uncanonize. Well, I don't know, Disney. It is Disney.
No, I don't think they will.
do like saying like, you know, this whole swath of properties, we're just gonna not consider them canon unless we feel like it. So
I think I
wouldn't put it past them.
I think they're gonna pick and choose, right? They're gonna pick and choose their canon, right? Because they're gonna say like this X-Men movie is canon, and like this X-Men movie is not. Like
I don't know. I don't know if they can do that with films. I can see that with comics and things like that, you know, expanded stuff, but I don't think you can do that with films.
You actually the characters' interactions, because if you think about it, the movies with oh god, what's this actor's name? The guy from Split.
James McAvoy.
Yeah, yes, James McAvoy.
Yeah.
His line of 3 or so movies can kind of be distinguished and separated from the X1, 2, and 3 movies.
Sure.
We really want to do it.
No, absolutely not, because you have which is the one with Psylocke and everything, the
Days of
one
Future
with
Past?
Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
And you also have Phoenix.
Sorry. That's Apocalypse. Phoenix. The one with Psylocke was Apocalypse. Because she wasn't in Days of Future Past, right? And Phoenix was.
Yeah, of course she was. She was Psylocke's like right-hand girl.
Right.
I mean, Psylocke. Apocalypse's right-hand girl. Yeah. Right.
And then I'm like forgetting the continuity and all this.
Because
Dark Phoenix was
Days
a different
of Future Past,
right? I can't even remember anything.
I don't even know. But anyway, regardless, like you have Phoenix, Days of Future Past. You have some of these movies that put James McAvoy and Sir Patrick Stewart and everything like in the same canon. So like if one isn't going to be canon, then all of them can't be canon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm okay with Phoenix not being canon.
Okay, but first of all, how do you reconcile there being 2 different Phoenix awakenings?
The multiverse. And the Phoenix, I don't think is
that's why I said
right?
I'm okay with not canonizing Phoenix.
Yeah, I guess we could skip that one. I mean, I think you could still canonize because, okay, so I'll flesh out my theory a little bit more. I'll try not to overdo like what I think is going to happen here and like open it up. But like, I think that obviously when you're talking about the Illuminati, one of the most important characters in the comics in the Illuminati is Professor X, right? We're seeing rumors, and then me and Wolfie were talking about this before we started the podcast. Like, this is Marvel's new stock and trade, and this is their like new marketing strategy, kind of. They just leak stuff now, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, hey, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in Spider-Man, you know, No Way Home or whatever. And like, then Marvel's like, wink, wink. No, he's not. Like, what are you talking about? That leaked footage, like Andrew Garfield, you know, trying to deny it and all of that. But like, I think that's what they're doing now. Because we have leaks about all the X-Men practically, Professor X, Deadpool, basically anybody you can think of. The previous Fantastic Four actors, new Fantastic Four actors, a new Iron Man, like,
I mean, this is how you hit the reset button. This is because even in the comics, like there's a new Wolverine. He's from another universe, essentially part of the multiverse, and he's young and blonde and blue-eyed, but he's also still Logan and still Wolverine, just from a different universe.
He's like Pretty Boy Logan. Interesting.
Yeah, essentially, right? So like it's like this. I can see them doing that. I can see them totally like, hey, like we got like a whole new Wolverine from this other universe and stuff like that, and introduce a new actor and the whole nine, and now you can start like the next 10 years of Wolverine movies with a young Wolverine all over again.
I think that it's easy too because, and I'd like to hear.
I think it's a cop out. But at the same time, like it's, you know, it's not so much what comics do, because the one thing that comics have that film and real life doesn't have is essentially unlimited time. If you think about it, I mean, Peter Parker has been a teenager or a young adult for the last 60 years,
50, 60 years, right?
You know what I mean? You can't do that with film, right? Like you just can't.
Yeah.
You know, at a certain point, you have to start over, you know? So
the thing of it, though, that's great, though, is that so we already know, obviously, that what Marvel does is that they pull from a lot of different storylines in the comics and they put something together, like something new together. So You have the Illuminati storyline from the comic books, and the Illuminati is intimately involved in another storyline, the more recent Secret Wars, which involves Doctor Doom, which involves the Fantastic Four, which involves the Illuminati, Miles Morales, like all kinds of big characters that have yet to be introduced or have yet to kind of get their due in the MCU. So, like, I guess with that in mind, like, what do you think that this is something that they might do in these movies? Do you think that they're going to go for those storylines, AJ? They're going to throw the Illuminati in there? Are they going to use this as a way to throw most of the X-Men in there through the multiverse? And just as the final thought, if you like the way that it all worked to bring the characters together in most Secret Wars comic is they destroyed the multiverse. Miles Morales, Star-Lord, Reed Richards, and a couple other people all were the last survivors, and that's how they got Miles Morales into the main Marvel universe. So I can see something like that happening. What do you think of that? Do you think that that's something that's a possibility with these films, or at least a setup in this film?
I mean, I think this is an interesting way to bring in the mutants. I don't know about the Illuminati though. It'd be kind of weird that all these guys from different universes, they just kind of hook up and say, "Hey, I've never really met you, but you're really smart. Why don't we form the Illuminati?"
I don't think they're going to hook up in this movie. I think we're going to find out that they always kind of existed in the background, because that's what it kind of is in the comics. In the comics, you just find out at some point that they were all a group for a long time. And I can see, if you think about it, the reasoning being for them forming to stop Kang. I mean, that's the whole point of I mean, in the comics, right, they're more about like threats within our own universe, but they could expand that council of the Illuminati to be something that protects the multiverse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I don't know.
And just to add a little bit more to it, there's rumors that, you're going to see John Krasinski show up as Reed Richards. There's also rumors you're going to see the other Reed Richards. I can't recall the actor's name, but from not Miles Teller, from the most recent one, the most recent Fantastic Four film.
The old ones?
The prior one. There's rumors that he's coming back as well.
Really?
Okay.
Interesting.
But think about this.
I don't know.
Okay. And then I'm going to open it up.
I don't know if they can. I don't know if they could pull off, a No Way Home twice.
Well, I mean, think of it this way, though. We have the Council of Reeds in the comics, right? And this is, I had this thought with somebody that I was talking to the other day about like the possibility of bringing Reed Richards into the MCU. Think about how, like what you said earlier, we're like a focus group, right? When you talk about the leaks that they put out, the things that they write, and then they do reshoots, if they see that maybe our theories are not lining up, or we don't really appreciate those leaks. What if what they're doing is, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, what if what they're doing is they're going to introduce a couple of different Reed Richards, including the new one, quote unquote, John Krasinski, and they wait to see who we like the best. And then that Reed Richards is the one that survives the collapse of the multiverse and becomes the new Reed Richards.
No, I don't know. The reason I don't think that works is because, Fantastic Four has been fumbled so many times that it needs to be done perfect. And if they're going to like kind of like, test the waters like this, if they're going to introduce like the all the different reads and stuff like that, first, I think the public needs to fall in love with the idea of Fantastic Four on film before you start giving us extreme storylines with them. I think that like the film can introduce Reed Richards and then give us a proper Marvel-made Fantastic Four film, okay, to finally kind of like do justice to the first family of Marvel. And then we can go into all the craziness that can happen with the Reeds and Franklin and all that stuff,
The only rebuttal I would have is that I think that they can do it a little bit like Black Panther, where he was in another film. He was driving the plot forward in that movie, but he wasn't a main character necessarily. So I can see them doing it in some way like that. But you're right. I mean, it's because of the way that the Fantastic Four have been fumbled over the years, and they're such great characters. Like in the comics, they're one of the most iconic characters, in
the first family of Marvel, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like they set up that dynamic, the family like superhero group. So yeah, I can see that. I mean,
now what I do have. So this kind of leads into my next question, which is, what don't you want to see? What would you hate to see in Multiverse of Madness? Because
Mephisto.
when you have like Multiverse of Madness, the way that I look at it is this open kitchen, and every single dish is a possibility. What's
Yeah.
the one dish you don't want to be served
Ooh,
with this film?
that's a tough question. Can you
Yes,
start
it
this one? I
is.
don't even know how to answer this. Do you have any ideas? Because I feel like what I wouldn't want to see could be a million different things.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be honest with you, what I don't want to see is an extension of No Way Home, to be honest. I don't want to see
Mhm.
I don't want to see this whole like, oh, well, in this other movie, I messed up everything in that movie, and that was the entire plot for that movie where we have these villains and these characters from other universes, and now we have to, figure out what to do with them. I don't necessarily want to see that again for two reasons. One, I think it'll make it stale. Not that Marvel's ever really reused, their own, I think, their own storylines to be main plot points. But I also it would take away from what made No Way Home special. I think that like it being, hey, this thing happened in this other film that's going to affect this world, but I don't want to see kind of like the same angles. I don't want to see like, hey, I'm here from universe 1993. That's the whole reason I don't want to see the Council Reeds, because like I don't want to see I'm Reed Richards from 1162 and I'm Reed Richards from 639, whatever, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because that to me is essentially not just a cop out, but it's boring to see it again.
Mhm.
I think. And I think it's gonna make, while the Multiverse of Madness will be mad, it's implied in the title. I think with some of the thoughts that we've had with No Way Home and kind of I guess accepting or trying to make sense of some of the plot points, some of the plot holes.
Yeah.
I think that this would just end up introducing even more plot holes, and it'll just be more confusing. And I don't know. I think that the multiverse is a very easy way to mishandle things, and I'm worried about it.
Do you believe that any of the Reeds are going to show up? Maybe not a council, but maybe like you said, like a brief
No, one
introduction.
I do. I think one does, but I don't
Mhm.
think that he does from another universe.
It's going to be from our universe.
Yeah,
Do we
yeah,
think it's John
absolutely.
Krasinski? Do we think he's going to be? Do you want to put any wagers on
If
it
it's
being
not if
John
it's not
Krasinski
John
and
Krasinski,
Emily
then I
Blunt?
don't want the Fantastic Four.
I can hardly see
If
who
it's not
else.
him and Emily Blunt, I do not want the Reeds in Marvel Universe.
Well, that's not
It
true.
just
There was a weird. We could talk about this some other time actually, because me and a friend of mine had some fun with casting Reed Richards and Doctor Doom. And one of the people that we strangely enough cast as Doctor Doom, and you're going to be like, "What the heck?" But think
mm,
about it. You would have
mm.
to very creatively cast
I
Reed
only have one
Richards.
Doctor Doom also.
No, it's crazy. This is completely out there. But if you've watched his films and you've seen how capable he is as an actor, it might not be as crazy as you sound. Dev Patel. You know who Dev Patel is? Yeah.
Yeah,
Slumdog Millionaire.
I've seen the fan casting. I still think it's a no for me.
Who's your favorite
Mads
possibility?
Mikkelsen?
Mads Mikkelsen for Doctor
Yeah,
Doom?
absolutely. The Mads from Casino Royale,
Mm-hmm.
Vane, the whole eye thing, the way how cold he was and how like calculating he tried to be in that film. I could see that being the Doctor Doom. Plus, he has like, not only he has like the build of a Doctor Doom. If you think about it, think about like, the outfit that he would wear, that cape with those broad shoulders, the square head, like I think that like his voice and how he carries himself, I think that he's the perfect Doctor Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I do not want to see Fantastic Four if it's not Emily Blunt and John Krasinski.
Do you
So
think he'll
it's
be a
just,
good counterpoint to John Krasinski? They'll play well off of each other.
yeah, I think so.
All right. What about do you have any thoughts on that, AJ? Do you feel like there's somebody that you'd like to see be Reed Richards if we see him in this film? Is it John Krasinski? Is it somebody else? Do you not care? Do you not
No,
like any of the fan castings that have been out there so far?
I'm not gonna lie. I've never really had much interest in the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
I find that this is just me personally. I kind of find them underwhelming. Sorry.
What about Doctor Doom?
Doctor Doom is a different story.
They're
But
so
You can't have
linked.
Doctor Doom without the
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic
Yeah.
Four. You know what it is? I think that like if you know, especially in the most recent stories, Reed Richards, Fantastic Four really is about Reed Richards, and I
Yeah.
think that like w- the films made it too much about like the whole family dynamic, which is not wrong because that's what the comics have always been. But I think that Fantastic Four is now finally like really kind of coming into his own when it focuses mainly on the fact that Reed Richards is the smartest man in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's the guy that Tony Stark looks up to, and Eric Bana and everything. It's and I think that
Right.
it's been sort of mentioned. I don't know why. I mean, I feel like at some point in one of the films, which one is recent, right? Like,
What?
I don't know that it somehow was implied that there's a astrophysicist
Oh yeah, that was
Oh
that
in
yeah,
one of the
someone
shows.
who
was
No,
bought the
WandaVision though. Remember
tower.
they like didn't pay that off at all. Some
yeah, they
other
didn't pay it
random
off.
guy
They
showed
didn't
up.
pay it off, but I believe that was actually, I believe that is actually Reed Richards still.
You think he built it and that other person showed up with it?
Yeah, for
kind
sure.
of
Yeah,
possible,
for sure.
right? I mean, they could always like they could have always planted
Because it's very
that,
specific
right?
astrophysicist. You know what I mean?
But then again, there's like all these thoughts that they're just doing this to mess with us now. They're like, oh, you
Maybe,
want to
but
theorize?
maybe, but
Astrophysicist.
there's no. The thing is that like there aren't any like notable astrophysicists in the Marvel world.
Yeah.
They could have just said scientists, and that could have been the astrophysicist. That could have been a biologist. Could be anything. Could have been an engineer. They could have just said scientist. The fact that they specifically said astrophysicist is what, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they tied it to the cosmos, essentially a scientist that deals in space. That's what made me think it's Reed Richards. So
I like the idea of them putting that in there, kind of like how they retroactively said that little kid with the Iron Man mask on in whichever Iron Man film
yeah,
was Spider-Man.
in
I like
Iron
the
Man 2,
idea that
Tom
they
Holland, yeah.
possibly like just put it in there, like so in the future if they want, right?
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
change
They
it.
can create that storyline.
Like
for
I
sure.
can see that happening for sure.
But I still want to know what you guys don't want to see.
Oh, this is really hard though.
Come on, there's got to be something that like you would that would kind of be like a letdown for you.
Well, I don't want to see them bring all these characters into the movie to have some massive CGI battle at the end, because I think that would be a letdown. Because when I say I want it to be like Infinity War, I think it's going to be like Infinity War. I think it's going to end on sort of a bad note and a possible semi cliffhanger. More on that, I guess, as we flesh it out. But I don't want to see a big, like, here's all the freaking X-Men, and here's all the villains, and here's Shumagorath, and here's just Strange Supreme, and, they just charge at each other and have a big CGI battle a la Endgame or something like that again. I don't want to see that. I want to see them maybe introduce some of these characters, but I want the payoff for them to do big action scenes and, like, have great interactions with each other to be in future films. Because I think it's going to take away from some of these. I mean, it's kind of like, to your point, if we overdo it with Reed Richards in this film, then there's going to be less fun to be had and less interesting ways to flesh it out from here in the future. So I don't want to see a big CGI.
You don't want to
battle
see
at
a
the
big
end.
CGI
Yeah.
battle. Okay.
I would like to see it more like, I guess, the first Doctor Strange film, where he has to think of some clever way using magic and in order to solve the situation, like the time stone in the first one.
Yeah. What
about
about
you?
you? What about you, AJ?
What about you, AJ? Is there anything
I
you don't want to see?
want to see a guy that starts with the letter M, followed by the letter E, followed by the letter P, Histo. I don't
Mephisto.
want to see him
I don't think he's going to be in
unless
this.
I think that he's the ultimate bad guy.
In this film? I think it's Shumagorath. I don't think it's Mephisto. But
No.
why do you think it's Mephisto?
No, it's not Shumagorath, because if it was, they would not have put Shumagorath in the trailer.
That's not Shumagorath. I know it sounds crazy, but look, there's a toy that, or
I don't
it could be
know.
a smaller what do they call it, like a avatar of Shumagorath in that universe, because the toy is not called Shumagorath.
I don't think that they would have given it given us a hint. That's the thing. I don't think that they would have hinted it if that's the ultimate bad guy.
Well, I think he'll be in it though, right? I think
No, yeah, I think that he's definitely going to be in it. I totally geeked out when I saw, but I they do a really good job of trying to not give us any hints, even when we know what's coming. Even though we knew that there was going to be 2 Spider-Mans, they still CGI'd it out. You know,
they just
they
gave us
still
a
like
little
erased
bit.
it out just so that, like, yeah, you know what I mean.
Well,
But I really think that it's going to be Mephisto.
I think, okay, if it's Mephisto, here's what I think is going to be at least part of the plot, and maybe
I want to know. I still want to know why AJ doesn't want Mephisto at all.
I'm sorry.
Like,
Go
even
ahead.
though even though I want to ask like who the big bad is for you. I only said that because what you don't want is who I think is going to be the bad guy. I want to know why you don't want Mephisto.
For the same reason, you apparently can't have Doctor Doom away from the Fantastic Four. It will be a travesty if you have Mephisto without the Ghost Rider.
That is kind of true.
It's
but
sort
he's
of,
not
but like
a Ghost Rider villain though, because Ghost Riders are more recent creation. I mean, he is, but he wasn't originally a Ghost Rider villain because he's older than Ghost Rider, if I'm not mistaken, right?
For
By
sure.
quite a bit.
But it doesn't mean that you can't have Ghost Rider after. It doesn't mean that we can't. And I don't like, if we ever do get Ghost Rider, I would assume it's probably going to be in a series.
It's gonna be what's his name from The Walking Dead? It's totally gonna be him. He's even been hinting at it.
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus, yeah.
He has said that he wants to play. Yeah, he specifically said that he wants to play Ghost Rider.
I think he'd be great for that. But
honestly, with this whole theory of like the whole Marvel teasing, what if that's already happening and they're teasing it by like, hey, Norman, just tweet out that you want to play this. Let's see what people think.
I think that's exactly what's happening. Absolutely. Because he's definitely going to appear in a future property. I don't think he's going to be in this film though, which to AJ's point takes away from the Mephisto thing. The one thing I'll say, and then, like I said, I'll open it up and continue the conversation, is that I think that part of at least the main plot of this film, and if there's a bigger villain, I get it. But I think that Shumagorath, being a multiversal being, and his whole thing as the comics is he takes over different universes, right? You have America Chavez in this film, and her whole power is she can move between universes by like just punching a hole in the fabric of reality. Shumagorath can't really do that in the comics. He can't just move between universes so easily. So part of the plot, to me at least, is maybe Shumagorath trying to gain her powers so that he can move through universes. But that the wrinkle is, of course, what is this evil Doctor Strange doing here? And is that even Doctor Strange? Is it Mephisto confirmed? Like, who is that exactly? That's kind of like the thing too. The other thing also, very quickly, is that I think that this is all going to lead a little bit to Kang. I think there's going to be at least that hint, just like we have Thanos as the overarching villain, and they were those hints to him. Maybe there'll be a post-credit scene or something. What do you guys think of that as a possibility? Kang, Shumagorath being not the main villain, but that being his plot in the film. Maybe, again, being directed by somebody bigger.
You know what I'd like? I'd like it to just be that Doctor Strange is just trying to manage this, and he thinks he's come up with a way to actually stop this. But then Kang walks in and just says, yeah, it's done. And then everything is just fixed. And he's like, so now you know I'm here. You know what I can do. Come at me, bro.
My thing with Kang is that, the big thing about every single Marvel movie is the big reveal. And if you introduce Kang, it's not really a reveal.
Not anymore.
Since we've not anymore. And that's why I think it'll be Mephisto, simply because of the big reveal. Just because what villains work within like the synopsis of the film that have not been revealed, either through its trailer or through previous properties, who has not made an entrance yet, because that's what everybody goes from to a Marvel movie for. It's for the snap moment, So like think if this is supposed to be the one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle into the next phase of the Marvel Universe. What is our Thanos moment? The first time that we saw Thanos on screen, which was the reveal. Like, what do you think it's gonna be? And that's why I don't think it's gonna be Kang or Shuma.
Would you be willing to put a theory out there as to why Mephisto is the villain in this film? What his main goal is? Knowing what we know?
I have no Mephisto. Just Mephisto just wants to wreck everything. He wants the universe to go mad. But I do think that like we can either have a Doctor Doom as the big bad or Mephisto. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be Mephisto, not Doctor Doom. There is, I think that's really it. I don't think that there's any other major bads that can wreck the whole MCU, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a Thanos that's going to have implications for all the films coming up. Like, I can see Doom doing that, but even Doom would be a little bit hard, I think, to be the Thanos of this next
Doom can be phases. But like again, it has to be Secret Wars as the final. Like as the final outcome. Exactly. And when you're setting up Kang also, like he has to be involved in it too, right? If Secret Wars is where they're going.
I think Kang is going to be involved. For sure. I think he's going to be in the film. I just don't think that he's the big bad.
Oh, you think he's going to be in this film, but like more like an appearance?
I do think so. Yeah.
Okay,
for sure.
Okay. Oh darn! I just forgot what I was going to ask another question. Oh, who is Strange? Or who's the evil Strange in this movie? Do you guys have any theories? Because my only theory actually
it's Kang.
No, I think it's Mephisto. If there's anybody, Mephisto,
no, sorry. I my original thought is that this is Mephisto.
That he's like just disguising himself as Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
AJ, sure. Are you frustrated over there? Or you just like have an itch?
I'm very frustrated.
I think AJ is realizing that like it's a grander likelihood than you want to admit.
No, it's a non-likelihood.
Well, why
you don't think that there's any chance?
No.
So who is it then?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I want to know who
just Strange Supreme.
I don't think this is Strange Supreme though. He doesn't look like Strange Supreme, and Strange Supreme wasn't a bad guy. In What If, it would be a little. It could be right, but like it would be odd.
Bad guy in this movie. He's just going to be like a general consultant. That's how I see it.
You think he just looks evil and he's not actually evil, right?
Yeah. Like, you can't really undo absorbing, like, how many evil entities and just all of a sudden look good.
Yeah. But, I mean, he still did the right thing in the What If show, which is why. Like, remember, he had this remorse. It would be a big character shift for me for him to be like, well, now... I mean, I don't know.
I don't think that's Strange Supreme.
I think
that that's Mephisto.
I would say that's a better theory. That it would be Mephisto or something like that, because Strange Supreme.
I think that in this movie is how he becomes Strange Supreme, but I don't think that is like who we saw was Strange Supreme.
Hey, Kevin Feige promised that we don't have to watch any of the shows to understand the movies. And actually, so far, that has been relatively true, right? Like, you don't have to know what's going on in the MCU shows to know what happened to, like, Black Widow or Spider-Man No Way Home.
Or Wanda?
Like well, WandaVision's a TV show, right? So, Multiverse of Madness...
It's still like that wouldn't be accurate then. No?
Well, that's the one thing, I guess, right? That
her turning into clearly she's gonna, especially if it's like, I'm not here to talk about what happened on your show, but I need you right now, even though you are completely isolated and hated by the world. But we're not going to talk about that in this movie. That wouldn't make any sense.
That begs a question, actually. My question is going to be: why the heck is she in this film? What's her role? Is she a villain? Is she neutral?
Mephisto.
Is she a good guy? Because Mephisto.
Mephisto
brought her. We're gonna make AJ like break the table in like
Mephisto. It just makes sense. It makes as much sense as having the other.
No sense.
Well, why doesn't it make sense?
That's what I want to know.
Reason why it doesn't make sense. What's
The
that?
Mephisto I know doesn't do things simply just because he has a plan. I don't
Sure, and
see a
that's what the movie's
plan.
going to do. The movie's going to that's what makes you think the movie's going to tell us what his motives are.
Well, it seems like one of the MacGuffins of the film is, again, America Chavez. If you were Mephisto, wouldn't you want somebody who has the ability to travel between multiverses, like, at a whim? Like, she's like the big thing that I think, whatever the villain is in this film, I think that she's what they're going to pursue, her power. And maybe, maybe the Scarlet Witch's power, maybe some combination of their two powers is something that Mephisto, or whoever the main villain, can use to further whatever their evil plan is. I mean, these are just theories.
Well,
right?
again, if
Obviously.
it's not Mephisto, then who is it? Because we still need to get that from you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if it's not Mephisto, honestly, I think it's real. I don't think there is like a super duper big bad in this movie. To
What?
me, this movie feels like, okay, I'm Doctor Strange. I made a mess. I gotta fix it up. But at the same time, Baramoto's like, yeah, you're gonna fix it, and I'm gonna punish you. I don't
know if
see
it's going to be
any
one of those. I
super
call those
duper grand like scheme in the background.
it wouldn't make sense for it not to be. Like, I wouldn't consider this, I call that B tier movies. Like the movies that are just contained within themselves, and don't have an overarching plot. I don't think this is a B movie. The first Doctor Strange was.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this Doctor Strange is going to be the A tier that creates the umbrella for the rest of the films, much like how Iron Man, did, in a sense.
Yeah.
You know
What I didn't think of also, since you guys mentioned that watch, that's that scene where that watch is in there with the symbol that doesn't quite look like just a broken watch. That's basically exactly the same as the scene from What If, when he's contemplating what to do about oh goodness, I can't recall her name, but the character Rachel McAdams plays. Remember, he's looking at a watch in that scene also in What If, while he's trying to figure out what to do, kind of signifying, I guess, or symbolizing his relationship with the time stone and how he's going to use that. So maybe that's another hint that this is, if not Strange Supreme, will relate to some of the events of What If. I mean,
I'm assuming that it does, because What If ended up turning out to be basically a Doctor Strange show.
Yeah. It did
essentially, it was like Doctor Strange in that show was the overarching plot of the entire What If series.
Yeah, they're gonna try.
Even though all the
Peggy
episodes,
Carter, right?
Even all the episodes were standalone, it was really kind of like it was all tied into the Doctor Strange episodes.
The most integral character other than the Watcher in that conflict, so it would make sense.
Even the Watcher was essentially a sub character to Doctor Strange's plot in that entire show.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it became about his emotional arc more than
this
anybody else's.
This is why I believe that there is going to be an overarching nemesis introduced in this film, because they're giving us all these little Doctor Strange things, right? Like, we have Doctor Strange in No Way Home, we have Doctor Strange in What If, now we have this film. And if it's just a Doctor Strange film with no overarching nemesis plot, then it wouldn't make sense. It's just that
why
just
call
doesn't
it
make any sense.
Why
Like,
call it Multiverse of Madness then?
Yeah, it's
it
just
has to have some consequences.
It has to have some like huge consequences. Yeah.
Plus, like, if you look at all of the more recent Marvel shows and films, other than Black Widow, they all have had major consequences in the MCU. Captain America, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he's Captain America now. WandaVision, well, y'all know. Loki, he basically broke the timeline. Like,
do you
Spider-Man,
think that
Way
you
Home.
You think the Lokais make an appearance here?
Yes, I do actually. I think they will. I
feel like there's actually going to be too much going on in this film.
It might be, yeah.
It might be a little bit. It's because it's already overwhelming to think of. Like, if all these things are in there, then the only thing that makes sense is Mephisto. So.
That's partially why I think. So let me get back to this idea that it might be like an Infinity War. We might see a cliffhanger where the heroes lose. And I'm not necessarily saying it's like, oh, Secret Wars and the whole universe collapses at the end of this movie, which, again, I think I see I think we all kind of see it leading to something like that, right? Like a Secret Wars, collapse of the multiverse, take whatever characters you want, put them in the new MCU, and there you go. But I can see an event happening at the end of this film, kind of like, well, I mean, if you look at all the most recent properties, again, they all end in a semi-cliffhanger, right? Because Loki ends with the timeline breaking, WandaVision ends with her looking for her children, Spider-Man No Way Home ends with Spider-Man not being Spider-Man anymore, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. So every movie has been hugely consequential, and every show has been hugely consequential to the MCU going forward.
I mean, I think that he becomes, I think that he becomes Sorcerer Supreme. I think that that's like the big effect that's going to happen to him in the film.
That's true. He's not right now.
Yeah, he's Wong not right now. So, yeah.
What, so you're telling me Wong dies?
No, not necessarily.
Yeah, because it has to happen. For
him to be the Sorcerer Supreme, I guess.
Yeah. He's not just going to give it up, and I think that that's like going to be, Yeah, and I think Mephisto kills him.
Mephisto. Confirmed.
You know, look at, you see, he's actually a perfect villain, because look how upset it's making you. You're gonna so hate him when he shows up.
It's gonna be really affecting. That's the whole point of having these villains in the show. You want somebody that's gonna like mess with your head and all of that. I kind of like the Mephisto idea. I think that in the end there might be multiple villains. Maybe Mephisto.
What if Mephisto wants to become the Sorcerer Supreme? What if that's his motivation?
And that's why he takes over one of the strangest bodies.
What?
It could be.
We don't know, okay? We don't know, AJ.
If he's supposed to be this all-powerful being, what does he need to be Sorcerer Supreme for?
Because he's not the supreme all-powerful.
In his dimension, he's all-powerful. Remember, outside his dimension, he's not all-powerful. He's actually not that strong outside of his main dimension. Which is why he's so shrewd. Remember, Thanos can beat the heck out of him. Like, he was like Thanos' lapdog in the original Infinity War comics. So outside of his dimension, Mephisto ain't ish. Like, he's pretty weak. But if he gets the power of the Sorcerer Supreme, if he gets multiversal power, that gives him the ability to be like, you know, I don't care what dimension I'm in. I'm running the show now. I could see that happening now that we're like kind of putting that out there. And AJ, would that really be that bad? Do you hate Mephisto that much?
No, I hate just the way they're gonna. If this is how it plays out, I don't want any part in it.
What would you prefer?
Oh my God.
What would you prefer?
I prefer him to appear in his niche appearance zone.
So in Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
And only Ghost Rider.
Yes.
That's kind of such a waste, though.
He's a much bigger villain than just Ghost Rider.
Such a much bigger villain. And Ghost Rider is such a small character. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Ghost Rider, but you know, as cool as Ghost Rider is doesn't have huge. Recently in the comics, he has. More so, but I don't think more so. But I don't think that he's not on the level of like Doctor Strange, you know, Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man. Like, you know, he's just not. You know, unfortunately.
Yeah. This is how you launch him into something, because you can have Mephisto show up, you can have Ghost Rider show up later, and kind of maybe be another foil to him. But like, think of it this way. Imagine they introduce the Fantastic Four, which they're going to do, right? We know they're going to do that. They introduce Dr. Doom.
We don't know.
And then they say, well, we pretty much know they're going to do that. But let's just say hypothetically that they do. And then they say, Dr. Doom, you're not going to be a villain in any of the MCU movies. You're just a villain in Fantastic Four films because you're a Fantastic Four villain. That would be like doing this with Mephisto, saying, you're only going to show up in Ghost Rider. You're not going to show up anywhere else. You're only going to be a Ghost Rider villain, when he's so much bigger than that. That's why, like, I kind of understand where you're coming from, and I'd love to see them clash. But I think that waiting for Ghost Rider, making sure that you have to wait for Ghost Rider, introduce Mephisto, can be a mistake. That's just my opinion. You know
what? We could get Mephisto in this film, and then have Cosmic Ghost Rider come through the multiverse. Actually, that could make sense. Actually,
Cosmic Silver Surfer.
Because Cosmic Ghost Rider is a thing. If Mephisto's introduced, then you could have Cosmic Ghost Rider in this film.
Speaking of Cosmic, I'll say this. If there's only one thing that they absolutely need to bring back from the previous Fantastic Four films, and it is Lawrence Fishburne as the Silver Surfer. I thought that was fantastic casting, because come on, Lawrence Fishburne doing the voice of the Silver Surfer was great. As bad as that movie was, I think that it would be great to bring him back. And he's just a voice. So like he can, he doesn't have to be young or anything like that. He wasn't really ready to do the Matrix films. Maybe he would have gotten into shape and done those. But like, I think that he'd be a great character to return. And I think if Wolfie, if your storyline pans out that way, then yeah, we could introduce Cosmic Ghost Rider and the Silver Surfer in this film.
I think that's too many introductions, though. That's too much.
Yeah, but it seems like this film's going to introduce everything. I wonder how long it's going to be, right? Because if it's not at least a good
come out.
No,
2 hours
I think it did.
Oh no, I'm thinking runtime for the Batman.
The Batman, yeah, that's almost 3 hours, which
it's basically 3 hours
that it will be. But this film feels like it needs to be, which again was why I say Infinity War comparisons. They need to make this a longer film to make sure that they have time to, even though we're fans and we know who all these characters are, it would still be silly and weird if they were just like, hey, here's Wolverine, and like, we're not going to explain this in any way at all whatsoever. There has to be some lead into these stories, and they're going to need time to do that. Which X-Men do you think are going to show up?
I'm reading this right now. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness early runtime revealed is the longest MCU film ever made.
Done. All right. So that means that everybody is in it. Everybody is in it. I was going to ask, like, who do you think is going to show up? We're getting James McAvoy. We're getting Patrick Stewart.
I'm telling you, like, if it's going to be a 3 hour, if it's going to be a 3 hour film, then for sure there's going to be a big bad. There's going to be a new Thanos that's introduced,
and he's going to win. He's going to win at the end of this film, I think, too. I think this is going to be, they're going to make the next Doctor Strange film an Avengers film, because apparently every Marvel movie now is an Avengers film. And they'll just make it a big, a big conflict that might lead into an even bigger conflict in Secret War.
Longest
That's my theory.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a little bit crazy. That's a little, it's apparently it's going to be over 3 hours long.
Wasn't Endgame the longest one before this, right?
Yeah, Endgame was.
What was Endgame's runtime? I have to go figure this out now.
It was exactly 3,000 minutes. No, that's all the films put together.
That would be
3,000.
That would be amazing. Although I think
I don't know, man. I don't know. That might be too much.
Endgame's runtime is 3 hours and 2 minutes. So if it's longer than 3 hours and 2 minutes,
well, it's at least 3 hours and 3 minutes.
This is absolutely going to be an Infinity War type film, in my opinion. It's absolutely going to be a massive cliffhanger, and there's absolutely going to be
Mephisto.
One, if not more, big bads.
It's going to be Kang.
I think he's going to be.
It's not going to be Kang. It's not going to be Kang because again, they already introduced Kang. They're not going to waste the opportunity to introduce the big bad without the big bang, without the big like, oh my god, I can't believe he's in this film.
I just
don't think that's going to happen.
That was kind of my theory, but I take it back too, because like it wouldn't make any sense to have Kang's the big bad at the end of Loki, Kang's the big bad at the end of Multiverse of Madness, Kang's the big bad at the end of Quantumania. Thanos didn't show up in every movie and fight people. He eventually showed up after everything had happened. So Kang,
and I don't think that anyone's gonna want to see, like, I mean, not that I wouldn't want to see a 3 hour long movie, but the payoff is important. A 3 hour long movie to then just realize, oh, it's just Kang. I mean, yeah, Kang's cool, but like I've been sitting here for 3 hours.
Yeah, we already saw Kang.
You know what I mean?
He got a
we
whole
already
episode.
know who Kang is. We know who Kang is. We saw it. We researched it. The whole nine. Like the big thing with the Thanos reveal was like, oh my god, Thanos, and everybody immediately after is just like, no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers. Yeah. We need that. Like the film, if the film doesn't garner 3 days of fervent no spoilers posts and commentary online, then I don't think it's a success anymore. You know, in the sense that like immediately after the film, people just have to like be like clamoring for people to shut up for a few days before everyone has seen it at least, and the only way you're going to do that is by revealing the big bad, revealing a new hero, revealing a new partner, revealing Silver Surfer, revealing like those are just not big enough,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's not why we watch Spider-Man. What's that?
If it's not going to be Kang, I change tack then. It's going to be Dormammu again.
It could be Dormammu,
but that wouldn't be a reveal though.
But I don't know that I would take the same villain in both movies. Prepare to be
disappointed when it's not Mephisto yet again.
Mephisto.
I mean, I'm not going to be
confirmed.
disappointed. That's the thing. I'm not going to be disappointed as long as there is a reveal. If there's not a reveal, that's the only time I'll be disappointed.
Who else
Really
could
the
it
only time.
be? There's nobody else that I can think of that could be big. If you
A
don't think it's going to be
Celestial?
Shumagorath, then that would be one of the bigger Doctor Strange villains other than Mephisto. I don't know that.
Yeah, but don't think just Doctor Strange villains. Think
No, I
Marvel
understand.
villains.
I
That's the
understand,
thing.
but the strongest possibility is that it might be a Doctor Strange villain, and yes, there could be others, but like, it's also like what other magical villains can we think of off the top of our head that could be in this film, or multiversal villains that could be in this film?
I think it may be a Celestial
It could be, but
What?
they're
with the Eternals being introduced. and
we
all that
didn't
stuff,
clarify.
like,
That's why I'm upset at that movie. We didn't clarify whether the Celestials are all powerful in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if they're multiversal, if they're anything else. Because they're not multiversal beings, then they probably can't be the villain of this film. Right? If they're only concerned with, it could maybe, but it would be a bit of a stretch. And also, that wouldn't be the big reveal, like you said, that you're looking for, Wolfie. It would be like, oh,
a Celestial,
Arishem
not
or whoever.
A Celestial.
Maybe a different kind of Celestial.
Yeah,
I can't think of anybody else that
I
it
don't
could
know.
be in this film.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I guess that's a good thing, right? The fact that we haven't, been able to figure out exactly, even though I do believe it's going to be Mephisto. So,
You know what? Right now, $20. It's not going to be Mephisto.
well, I'm not taking that bet when it comes to Multiverse of Madness because you're literally playing against the odds of the entire catalog of Marvel characters.
I have only one more
$20
question.
right now.
I have only one more question, and then if y'all have
All
some
right,
more
you got it.
questions,
$20.
I got
$20.
all right.
No, better yet, a White Castle meal.
Ooh,
All right,
can I take that?
okay, all right.
Can I
Your
take
dad
that?
owes me White
Sure,
Castle. No,
why
I'm
not?
doing it with AJ. I can't buy 2 White Castle
No,
meals.
not you. I'm gonna. Well, actually, you can't. We can't have 3 people in one bet. I mean, you could, but we're not gonna figure that out. One question only. One of the bigger rumors that has been put out there recently is that we're going to see the return of Iron Man, but it's not going to be Robert Downey Jr. Have you seen who that's supposedly going to be?
I have
you
not
think it'll be
seen
that?
who that's supposed to be. Who's
Please, I thought
who's
that
the
was
rumor?
just a meme.
No.
Who's the proposed new Iron Man?
So before Robert Downey Jr. was cast as Iron Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one of the people that was in the running to be Iron Man was Tom Cruise. The rumor is
No
he's
way.
going to be in
Absolutely
this film
not
as Iron
no
Man.
way.
Why
No
not?
way.
Why not?
Absolutely not. He's not of the caliber. He doesn't carry he doesn't have the Tony Stark charisma. He would be a letdown compared to Robert Downey Jr.'s performance because every single one of the Iron Man performances after Robert Downey Jr. is going to be compared.
Yeah,
and it's
sure.
just there's no way that they would do that. On top of the fact that he's not young enough, even though Tom Cruise looks like he doesn't age in any way whatsoever. Blame that on Scientology. I just don't think I don't think that he would be young enough to play Iron Man for the next 10 years.
Oh, I don't think that's what they're going to do though. That's because remember, my idea
you think that they're just going to like bring in Tom Cruise as a Tony Stark from like another universe just for the film?
Not just for this film, but not like they're going to make standalone films for him. Like it's just going to tie into my Illuminati theory. If you have certain characters in the Illuminati, they don't have to be in every film, but it can be a treat, right? To see like this character,
I'm with AJ on that one. I would, and I am a huge fan of a lot of Tom Cruise movies.
Mm-hmm.
Huge fan of Tom Cruise in general. But that's also like why I don't think that it would work, because I feel like I know Tom Cruise is so typecast that I don't think that like he doesn't have enough range to play Tony Stark.
I don't know. I've seen movies where he's been kind of a cocky jerk, but I'm not going to go back and forth.
He's always a cocky jerk. What movie is he not a cocky jerk?
I'm saying, like, that's why he would,
but like it's not just a cocky jerk. It's can you see Tom Cruise as a fatherly figure to Tom Holland? Because we're gonna have those comparisons.
I could, but like I don't know that he's gonna do that again. Why would they do that?
I know that he's not gonna do that again, but it's just like it's gotta exude that. That's gotta be part of the character that we see.
I think
in some sense.
I think specifically, maybe not, because he's only going to make a handful of appearances. But that does give me one more question that I want to ask, though. One more,
Okay.
and then I will stop asking questions. Who do you think? Okay, actually, it's a two-parter. Do you think the Illuminati is going to show up? And if so, not necessarily in this film, but in the MCU. And if they do show up, who will be the makeup of the team? I think Doctor Strange will clearly be one. I think that Reed Richards will be another. I think that a form of Professor X will be another. I don't know about Black Bolt because we haven't seen any introduced into mutants or the oh gosh
Well,
so
actually,
what?
there was
No, that
an
that show
Inhuman, but
doesn't count.
yeah.
That show doesn't count. Yeah, no. So what do you guys think? Do you think that we might see the Illuminati at some point, if not in this film? And if so, who would you bank on being the characters in the Illuminati based on what we've seen so far? Because Black Panther
Well,
also is kind of out there.
I
Maybe, maybe
try.
not.
Yeah, I think if Black Panther, I don't think that the Illuminati is going to show up in this film,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or really even in the future of the MCU, because
Mhm.
I think that that is a far away departure, I think, from the storyline. I mean, I guess it depends on how they do. Honestly, it's gonna depend on like Multiverse of
Yeah.
Madness, how they do it. Uh, but I don't think that we're gonna get the Illuminati. I
Okay.
just don't,
Yeah.
because you have to reintroduce Professor X, and you have to reintroduce obviously another not Captain America, Iron Man and stuff like that,
Mhm.
which is fine
You
and
don't
all.
have
But if
to.
you're gonna
You don't have to. Remember, again, you could take
the
different characters and put them in the
no, I
Illuminati.
understand that, but like, why bring in a storyline such as the Illuminati, um, which is essentially an Avengers team.
Yeah.
It's an ensemble cast
Covert Avengers.
without expanding each one of those characters within the MCU also. Because then it's almost like it's like you're using the Illuminati title, the whole the whole thing with the Marvel's Illuminati, um just for the callback. I think maybe eventually we'll see like kind of a callback to it, but I don't think that we'll see the Illuminati in an official Illuminati form.
Okay.
I think that maybe at some point in the future we'll see like in one of the films, like they get together and brainstorm, and we all like, oh, it's the Illuminati, but they won't call themselves the Illuminati. They don't officially form themselves as the Illuminati group.
Yeah,
It'll be like
like
the Spider-Man pointing meme. It's like not exactly
Sort
it,
of, yeah.
but
It's
it.
it's like it'll be in there and we'll recognize it, but I don't think that is going to be a direct angle.
What were you saying, AJ?
yeah. I also think it's kind of too early to do the Illuminati, purely for the fact that the multiverse is a very fresh thing, and
Mhm.
the Illuminati
Yeah,
feels like a thing that's like built up over like months and years of
yeah,
relationship
yeah.
building and
Mhm.
whatnot, and getting to know all these other guys,
Yeah.
and like just yeah, I feel like the multiverse needs to sit a little more
Mhm.
before we can go, okay, there's an Illuminati spanning the multiverse.
So,
The thing is though, real quick though, one
mhm.
thing is that like while the multiverse film that's about to come out is makes it feel fresh, it's actually not fresh if you think about it, because the multiverse was first spoken about and guess sort of mentioned in a way, even though it wasn't like official,
Yeah.
but in Far From Home.
Mhm. That's where we thought it was going to be, the breaking of the
Yeah, the
multiverse.
way like that was Marvel playing with the idea, like, would the people accept the multiverse? That was like the whole angle behind Mephisto, sorry, Mysterio. Don't stop. That was
There
by
we go.
accident. Oh my
There
god, I
we
can't
go.
even mention his name, AJ. Jesus. No, so Mysterio's angle was like, oh, he's from like this other universe and this, that, and the other, and it's sort of, I guess, like, was apparently confirmed. Um,
Well, no,
but it sort
he
of
was a
was
fake.
confirmed in that film, because if it wasn't confirmed, then everybody else within Shield that was working with Mysterio, even though I know it wasn't directly
No.
uh oh my god, why am I blanking? Nick Fury, if there was a question about it, then I don't know. Anyway, that was the first time that the topic was brought up, and then we have No Way Home, and now we have this movie.
Loki.
We have
a bunch of things.
We have Loki. We have What If. It's not that
touched on it too. Even
it's not that fresh.
But I can see both of your perspectives, though.
But that breaks Loki then, if there was already a multiverse in place, because the whole point was that in Loki that they were controlling how time flowed to prevent the formation of a multiverse. That kind of breaks it.
But Loki consistently, logically, if you think about it, the multiverse had to exist because where would the variants come from?
The multiverse was confirmed there. It's just they were controlling the multiverse. Yeah. What they were trying to stop was the multiversal war.
And also, there's a possibility that the sacred timeline can be more than one universe. If you think about it, it doesn't have to be a single universe necessarily. It can be a few universes.
That's a little bit too far.
Well, if you think about it, the sacred timeline does include different universes. It has to, because again,
it does.
It's just that he prunes it down from an infinite number of universes to a handful of universes so that he can control the emergence of a Kang, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, Loki's logic kind of lends itself to that thing.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not super fresh. And again, just Mephisto.
Mephisto confirmed.
Not Mephisto. Anyway, confirmed. All right. So obviously, I don't think that while we discussed everything, I don't think that we drilled down to anything. And that's kind of what's a little bit mad about what's coming. It might be the one film that will truly be unpredictable, except for the Mephisto part.
Yeah.
It's not.
Anyway, I think that
a White Castle meal. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. I'm gonna your dad still owes me a White Castle meal. Bro, I think it's over a year running. I'm sure that there's gonna be a day that I can accept the destruction of my body and eat some White Castle.
Yo, what's up with the crave case?
For the sake of the victory.
You got to go for the crave case on this bet, man. Not just the meal.
Oh, a crave case is not a meal for you?
I was gonna say that's the meal. It can't be less than that. You need the crave case at least, plus the sack of fries and whatever else you want, and that's what the bet should be all about. But now I want White Castle. I got to stop. All right, I guess that's where we wrap it up. Yeah,
I think that is.
Yeah, that's
for the most part
to end it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So y'all know, as usual, this week we have been recording remotely, as we have been doing so for quite some time. So if you heard any sound issues, artifacts, or any other problems with the sound, y'all know how to reach out to us. Slide into our DMs, Positively Cynical. You can find us with the Positively Cynical hashtag on all your favorite social media platforms. And remember,
this is Get Geek.
Oh crap. I'm gonna record that again.
It's okay. I'm gonna accept that as your shameless plug for the Positively Cynical podcast.
That should not be.
Don't forget to also follow the Arena podcast if you're into sports. That's Walt and I's other podcast. But currently you are listening to the Get Geek podcast.
I'm smacking myself right now.
Hey man, if we're doing this, don't forget CrossGen, bro.
There you go. Look, plug all the podcasts.
Let me start over.
This is the multiverse of podcasts.
Support all your favorite podcasts. Right now, you're listening to the Get Geek podcast. You can find us where all your favorite social media platforms are, and then of course, rate, share, and subscribe, and rate us on Apple Podcasts. And again, just to add the other ones in, just because of it, please do the same for the CrossGen podcast. Please do the same for the Arena podcast featuring Wolfie and Walt, and please do the same for my own podcast that I shamelessly plugged without even realizing it a couple of minutes ago, Positively Cynical. And you can find all of that at Talons with a Z, TALONZ 55 Studios on Instagram, because we produce a whole bunch of podcasts, y'all. On that note, sorry for messing up that outro. But I guess there's nothing left to say at this point except what I always be saying, and that's stay geeky, my friends, and stay positive, stay cynical. I don't know. Stay positive. Stay in the arena. Whatever, I'm done.
They are paths cross again.
In another gen. Peace, y'all.
So, Mephisto, right?